Hello, hello, it's Pattyjo. Took a little break. Time to fill that with more than just water. Because he is just, with Thug Goblin, is just not happy. All right, let's see what his cross-examination of this expert witness is.
You said you do DNA analysis, correct?
No, I did DNA analysis for nearly 10 years. I don't actually do DNA analysis anymore.
So at the time of the incident, were you doing DNA analysis?
No.
So who did the DNA analysis on all the items that were found during your investigation?
DNA analyst Trevor Nailed.
Did you see the results of those DNA Did you see the results of those DNA tests?
We did have conversations.
Did you see them?
No.
Semantics.
So it'd be fair to say you don't know what those results were.
I didn't verify it. Like I said, we just had conversations.
So do you know the results of the DNA analysis?
In particular, is there a particular item?
For any of the items?
I don't recall the exact results, no.
And you made reference to the gunshot that you stated stayed in the rear cargo. Where in the rear cargo did you find that shell casing?
It's not a shell casing.
My statement, it wasn't a shell casing, Your Honor.
Shell casing.
Thank you. If you are such a thug, I'm sorry, I'm yelling. Daryl, Thug Goblin. If you are such a thug and a big old G member that you claim to be, I'm sure that'll bite him in the butt. Literally. You should know. Even I know some very basic things. The shell casing of a projectile is popped out of a semi-automatic weapon and stays around the area that the weapon was fired. It is not something that travels with the projectile. Where'd you find the shell casing? Where'd you find the shell casing? God, you are just dumb, and showing how dumb you are, the more, I mean, if I have a basic understanding, we are in big trouble. If I'm the level of expertise in our conversation, it would be like sending me on a lift assist. Like, I'm a 50-some-odd-year-old woman. If I'm the one helping lift you up, I'm 5'1". We're all in big trouble. Oh my gosh. Woo. All right, moving on.
Fragment, same thing.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And the fact that you can't force everybody into your semantics, into your narcissistic globe of goblins and goblin memories, it's just, oh, look how frustrated he is. Ugh.
In an objection, I'll sustain the objection. It mischaracterizes the testimony and ask that you rephrase it.
Did you find a shell casing?
No.
A bullet fragment?
I found a fired bullet fragment.
Where did you find the fired bullet fragment
It was really close proximity to where the rear latch comes down and hooks in to stay closed. So on the floor of the rear cargo by where the actual cargo door comes down.
And you said a latch that comes down?
Yeah, so how doors latch, like car doors latch, you know where the latch is? So where the rear cargo door came down and latched, it was in really close proximity on the horizontal surface of that rear cargo area.
Did you observe if the bullet fragment had struck anything?
It struck some items in that rear cargo area.
Do you recall what it struck?
I don't.
You made reference to a headband being on the rear view driver's side mirror, correct?
Correct, it was on the driver's door mirror.
And from your expertise, how would you, in your opinion,
Speculate.
guess that it got there?
How would you speculate that it got there? You mean, could somebody have just walked by and hung their headband still on your car? Ugh.
By coming into contact with
The mirror.
something or someone that was wearing it?
And do you know that for sure?
No, but based off of my experience of a lot of years of examination of physical items of evidence.
But it'd be fair to say that you don't know exactly.
Semantics. Narcissist.
No, I wasn't at the parade. I wasn't. No.
Everybody in the
And you
room
stated
knows.
that you were present for the towing of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall at any time anyone attempting to start the vehicle?
No.
And you stated that the bumper was, I guess, moved at some point so it wouldn't drag under the vehicle. I'm guessing that's what you said. If I'm wrong, you can.
No, that's correct. Yeah, we used bungee cords to secure it off the ground so that when we're moving it or putting it on the flatbed to go to the actual enclosed trailer, that it wouldn't be constantly going underneath the vehicle.
Everybody understands that. How does that help you?
When towing the vehicle, what was it placed on?
Because of the amount of traffic or cars that were parked on the road, the towing company couldn't get the enclosed trailer right to the end of the driveway. So the vehicle was put onto a flatbed truck and then driven a few houses down, where then it was transferred to an enclosed trailer and then removed from the scene.
Everybody understands?
So with the bumper, being that it was first placed on a flatbed truck, as you say,
Flatbed truck, as you said.
at that time with the bumper had, what problem with the bumper had caused if it wasn't going to be physically
I
dragged
said that already.
or anything at that point?
Asked and answered.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
What kind of problem would the bumper pose if the vehicle was on a flatbed truck?
The whole point is,
Essentially what I'm saying is, to give you more clarity, how could the bumper be dragged at that point?
it was being removed from the surface of the driveway onto the flatbed.
And
So
that
if the
would
bumper
drag.
weren't secured in an upright position, it would be pulled, and the bumper, as the vehicle is going this way, the bumper would be pulled underneath the vehicle.
So once it was secured on the flatbed truck, would the bumper still pose any problem?
The vehicle on the flatbed, the bumper was in a secure position.
if it wasn't bungee corded, would it have posed a problem?
Yes.
How so if it wasn't moving?
The whole purpose was to secure the bumper in place to preserve any physical evidence that might have been on the bumper.
And do you recall who did the actual towing?
The company's Complete Towing and Recovery.
And you stated to want to get the vehicle to a environmentally friendly, secure location?
Yeah, a better term would be environmentally controlled.
What do you mean by environmentally controlled?
Proper lighting,
Lighting,
outside of the elements,
rain and wind,
outside of view of the public, so an enclosed building.
gawking people.
Why the reference to outside of the public?
It's easier to do examinations in a controlled environment.
It is.
Would it be fair to say at that time, before it was towed, the vehicle had been secured, checked?
Out in the open,
That was done out in public. So, what would be the difference at that point?
Well, first of all, Daryl, you dumped it on somebody's property in somebody's driveway. Okay. That's inappropriate. Oh, we're just going to take over your driveway. You know what? He is so selfish. He just thinks can like usurp everybody's space and property, life, semantics, brain.
I'm going to go back to my original statement of what my primary duty is. My primary duty is to preserve the integrity of the evidence. So that night, I was concerned with doing the necessary steps that I deemed relevant to collect, and then get that vehicle to a more suitable environment, just based off of how much more work and analysis and processing that vehicle would entail.
Fundamentally, I follow. I follow what you're saying fundamentally.
But
the question, though, is by the time you arrived to the scene where the vehicle was located, were you aware that the vehicle had essentially been already investigated?
No.
So you had no knowledge that the vehicle had been secured, had been pretty much investigated by that point?
Well, I was aware that the vehicle was in a secured state. I don't know what happened prior to that. There was very little information that I received on the initial phone call because of the hectic nature of everything. So I had an address, and I knew that the vehicle was being secured by law enforcement.
as a first responder, what I will add here is a lot of things. People have a lot of criticism over the way police gather these types of information and when they get down to the nitty-gritty. And they go from a very large scope to a very fine scope, DNA being maybe the finest scope of it. You see the pictures start from far away, and then they go in, and then they do the inside, and then they do this, and then they start removing the items, and they start itemizing it, and they go, and then they send those items to the lab and the DNA. And so it goes from a very large scope to a very small scope. He does not expect that he is coming into a sterile environment crime scene. Many crime scenes include people who still may be there. And EMS will come and they will walk into the crime scene where the person is to see if they're still alive, to provide care, to remove the person. Many of my reports included things like, did I move a person that either I left there for the coroner or that I took off the scene. How did I find the person? Did anybody move the person before I got there? Those things, if I knew them, those things, I would put them in my report. I never assumed I was coming into a sterile EMS scene. The crime investigators don't assume that. They take the scene as it is and secure it as more and more and more to get to those fine details like DNA. Very simple.
So law enforcement were present when you arrived to the scene?
Yes.
And at that time you had learned, did you learn any knowledge from the law enforcement other than what you were told during the phone call?
No.
Do you recall who you were called by?
I was called by Special Agent in Charge Dave Clabundi of the Division of Criminal Investigations.
Do you recall what time you arrived at the scene?
I arrived at approximately 8:15 p.m.
Do you recall what time the vehicle was found?
I don't recall.
Do you recall anyone telling you or mentioning what time the vehicle had been found?
I don't recall.
So it would be fair to say before you arrived on the scene, you have no knowledge of what's been happening around the vehicle.
That's correct.
You said you made reference to a hat being found in the background. Do you remember saying that? Or in the backyard, rather. I'm sorry, not the background, the backyard, I meant to say.
Yes.
And at the time that you observed this hat in the backyard, do you, from your expert opinion, do you recall it having any relevance to the vehicle?
No, it was an item of evidence or a potential item of evidence that just seemed out of place. So in those types of situations, I always collect those types of items.
But you weren't sure at the time if it had any involvement with the actual vehicle?
No.
Was there anything significant that stood out about the hat?
Just the location.
Did you find any blood on the hat? Did you find, or is it just pretty much just a hat in the backyard?
I didn't do a thorough examination of the hat.
So as far as you were concerned, it was basically just taking in the evidence as a precautionary thing, or?
Yeah, it was an item that just seemed out of place, so I collected that hat.
Did you at any time obtain knowledge about the relevancy of that?
No.
All the photographs that you were shown, had you seen those photographs before today?
Yes.
You took
Do
them.
you recall if they were taken the same night of your investigation or multiple nights or days, rather?
There were multiple days.
And do you recall why you had to, or do you recall why those photos had to be taken over a multiple day span?
Yes, the vehicle needed a comprehensive evaluation or processing examination of pretty much every single side and surface of that vehicle.
And to do that, photograph wise, would have took days?
Yes.
So when did you start when did you start actually doing an investigation of the items inside of the vehicle?
That would have been the 22nd, November 22nd.
So the next day.
Correct.
And so did you yourself do analysis of the outside of the vehicle?
Yes.
Same day, 22nd of November?
Yes.
So you kind of started the outside and the inside pretty much roughly at the same time?
Yes.
Do you recall how long your complete investigation took?
Mine along with my colleagues?
Yours.
Mine. The examination itself of just me examining the vehicle?
Just you.
Probably over 40 hours. And that does not include the report that I'm writing. It doesn't include the process of going through the report, everything. But my examination, at least 40.
And so I'm assuming you did the report after you completed the initial investigation part.
Yes, the report's a summary of my processing.
And define summary. What do you mean by summary?
It pulls everything together. It details my examinations and any findings I have from those
He's gonna
examinations.
lob onto that.
I always view summary as not every detail, but pretty much like it's much as would be relevant, but not every single detail. Would that be fair to say?
This report is comprehensive in the terms of it lists every single item that was collected.
So why would you refer to it as a summary?
It's a summary of the examination and processing. That's the best way to describe it. It's not a dictation, in other words.
What do you mean by dictation?
There are other reports that other agencies may do that are dictated, right? I did this, then I did this, then I did this. This is a summary. This isn't a dictated report.
So what exactly did you summarize in your report?
My examination and processing strategies that I used, and the items of evidence collected, and any relevant findings associated with those examinations.
Did you do any examination of the cell phones?
No, I collected those and transferred those to a detective with the WAUKESHA Police Department.
Do you recall who that detective was?
David, his last name is spelt, I believe, Foyen, Foyen.
So at the time that you turned the phones over, did you do any more work in regards to the phones?
No.
Do you recall doing any investigation on the airbag control module?
No, I don't do that.
Do you recall obtaining a search warrant to conduct an inspection on the ACM?
I'm
No.
sorry, I didn't understand you.
An inspection of what?
The ACM, I guess that would be the air control module. I'm guessing that's what that's
Thank you.
referencing.
No, since I don't do that type of analysis or examination, I didn't obtain any search warrant with that.
Any reason why I would say that in the paperwork?
Objection vague.
grounds?
Sustained as to the form of the question. As to what paperwork you're referring to.
I'm guessing. I don't know what it will be called, but it says conclusion inspection summary. And the conclusion inspection or conclusion/inspection summary.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling the jury thinking the point of the prosecution's case is to lay out evidence that the person did it. The point of the defense is to lay out anything that casts shade on that. What is he doing? Daryl, you're so stupid.
Do you recall?
Is it from this witness?
Huh?
Is it from this witness?
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't think that is from this witness, Your Honor. I don't see anything like that in this Exhibit 90. Are you perhaps still looking at Inspector Schultz's report from the State Patrol, the last witness?
What page number do you have? And I'll take a look at it and I'll compare it.
This says page 5.
Yeah, he's looking at the last exhibit from Inspector Schultz, 83.
What? It says Chief Christopher Johnson.
Oh, it does say that in 83. It says, if I can read for completeness, or you can, it says, upon arrival, I met with crime scene chief Christopher Johnson from the Wisconsin State Crime Lab.
No. That's not what I'm reading from.
Okay. Chief Johnson had obtained a search warrant to conduct the mechanical inspection and to image the data retained within the escape's airbag control module ACM.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that was written by Inspector Schultz, who just testified, not this witness. To clarify the record here.
Thank you.
I apologize for that. It's all in the same paperwork with Chief Johnson, so maybe that's where the confusion comes in.
Yeah, you're
Reflect this witness.
confused.
His
Oh
last
my
name is
god.
Johnson, so I think that's
Yeah,
understandable.
I didn't
Okay.
know. I was just reading what I have here.
None of it makes any difference. Oh my gosh. None of it makes any difference.
Do you recall at any time obtaining any type of search warrants pertaining to the vehicle in this incident?
Yes, I have obtained a copy of the search warrant.
And do you remember what that search warrant was for? What was the intended search?
To search the vehicle and process it for any biological fluids, hairs, fibers,
Blood.
any electronic equipment, any personally identifying information.
And the ACM would fall under the lines of the mechanical side of.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have any more irrelevant questions, Daryl?
at any time during your inspection, did you observe anyone try to start the vehicle?
He asked that.
When I was with Investigator Schultz, when he came to my laboratory, he attempted to start it.
Oh, he asked on the scene. Okay. Sorry, Daryl.
And after you already stated that your initial part of your investigation before the report totaled 40 hours. And at that time, after you had completed your report, did you do any more investigating in regards to the vehicle?
After my report was complete?
Yeah, after you had done the 40 hours that you stated with, and then the actual report.
No. Once my report's done, I didn't do any further examination of the vehicle.
And after that was completed, had you received any follow-up from law enforcement after you had completed everything?
No.
Had you yourself followed up with law enforcement about the investigation after you completed your initial part?
No.
You yourself didn't file any claims in this matter, did you?
No.
Yeah, we're
Do
nearing
you know
the
of
end.
anyone who filed any claims in this matter?
I don't.
It's almost a relief when he starts this junk because we know it's close to the end.
And
The pain is going to stop.
do you recall who you were subpoenaed by to testify?
I was subpoenaed by District Attorney Sue Opper.
Do you recall when that was?
I believe it was sometime, I don't exactly recall when.
And did you follow up on that subpoena
No.
after you had received it?
No.
Have you at any time seen or read any complaints in regards to this incident?
No.
Do you know who the plaintiff is in this matter?
The state of Wisconsin?
Would you label that as a person, an actual human? Grounds.
Sustained. Not relevant.
You ever actually seen the plaintiff in this matter? Grounds.
Sustained.
If you saw the plaintiff, would you be able to identify the plaintiff?
Objection,
Grounds.
irrelevant.
Sustained pursuant to 9611. Sir, please move on to a different line of questioning.
Just trying to establish who the plaintiff is, Your Honor. Do you see the plaintiff present in court today?
Objection,
Grounds.
irrelevant.
Sustained.
Everybody understands this but Daryl.
Would you consider yourself to be an injured party in this matter?
No.
Not till
No
now.
further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Just very briefly. Mr. Johnson, you said when you arrived on Maple Street there were police officers present,
That's correct.
and you said the vehicle was secure at that point.
Correct.
Objection.
What do you mean?
Leading.
The answer may stand. Next question. Overruled.
What do you mean by that, sir?
The perimeter was secured with crime scene tape, and there were officers that were standing at the location where the vehicle was.
Would it have been possible for a member of the public or any curious person to just walk up and touch the vehicle or do anything to the vehicle?
Objection. Speculative.
Speculative.
Based upon his training and experience, he may answer. Overruled.
They would have been stopped by law enforcement.
Thank you, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down. While he's stepping down, if my jurors and anyone else in the courtroom want to stand, I do want to get through one more witness.
I do.
And then the exhibits that Mr. Johnson has, Your Honor, what would you like done with those?
I'll take them.
All right.
I have 90 and 87.
Yes.
What was 87?
87 is a hat.
I'm not sure if I did move that, but I would move that into evidence, so we will need that item for the next witness, please.
Okay, I'll put that back.
Thank you.
Objection to that.
Noted.
Before
it's-
you showed me that, I didn't even see what that was. If you would have
I'll
never
show it to
told,
you again.
I know, but if you never would have told me, I never would have even know what that was, and I didn't see it till you just moved it.
The
Tony.
witness had it up on the stand, but here it is. It's exhibit marked as exhibit 87. Go ahead and say, state has moved it into evidence. I believe there's an objection. It's
Yes,
noted,
there is an objection.
overruled based upon the testimony of the prior witness. It is received. And who do we have coming up to the stand?
Your Honor, the state next calls Trevor Naled, and for the record, he was handed a copy of Exhibit 91 on his way to the witness stand.
All right. Thank you. Sir, could you please stand and raise your right hand? My clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. Be seated. And just for the record, what is 91? I know you're going to get to it, but
91 is Mr. Naled's report, Your Honor.
all right. Thank you. Then, all right. Good. I guess evening, sir. The first thing I will have you do is to state your first and last names for the record, and then spell each, please.
Sure. My name is Trevor Naled, TREVORNALEID.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, and I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. Sir, where do you work?
I am employed by the Wisconsin Department of Justice at the State Crime Laboratory in Madison.
And what is your position there?
I'm a senior forensic scientist in the DNA analysis unit.
How long have you worked there?
11 and a half years.
Could you please describe the work you do there?
Sure. I examine evidence for the presence of biological fluids such as blood, semen, and saliva, and then attempt to extract the DNA from those items. From there, I will make comparisons to standards from known individuals in the case.
And what's your educational background, please?
I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse in biochemistry and a master's degree from the University of Florida in forensic DNA and serology.
Wow.
Do you have any training specific for your position at the Wisconsin State Crime Lab?
I do, yes.
Please describe that for the jury.
I underwent approximately a 1-year-long internal training program that included the screening techniques we use, presumptive and confirmatory tests for blood, semen, and saliva. Excuse me. From there, I learned the extraction techniques, quantitation, amplification, and typing methods that our lab uses. From there, I learned data interpretation as well as statistical analysis.
Did you do any casework while you were in training?
Mock cases.
Okay.
I completed two competency tests, 2 mock cases, a mock court, and then after completing those, I completed an extensive written exam as well as statistical tests.
Did you actually work with DNA samples, processing and analyze DNA samples during your training?
I did, yes.
About how many times?
About 175 samples.
Is the Wisconsin State Crime Lab accredited?
Yes, it is.
What does that mean?
Our lab's accredited under the ISO 17025-2017. Essentially, it's just a voluntary program that any lab can enter to show that it meets established standards. They control our proficiency testing that's done twice a year.
Do you personally have any certification or accreditation personally?
No, just the lab accreditation.
Just the lab, okay. How many forensic DNA cases have you worked?
Just over 500.
And about how many DNA samples have you processed?
Over
Objection.
2,000.
Overruled. The witness may answer. I'm sorry. Will you repeat your answer?
Over 2,000.
Have you previously testified in court before?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may answer. As a reminder, there may be objections. Please wait until I rule on those objections until you answer. Go ahead. You may answer.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you a little bit further about DNA analysis and how that works, okay?
Sure.
What is DNA? We hear a lot about it. What is it?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It's essentially the genetic blueprint that makes us what we are. It codes for us to have 2 legs, 2 arms, hair color, eye color, etc.
And where's DNA found in the human body?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. Foundational. The witness may answer.
DNA is found in the nucleus of a cell.
Is it the same in every cell throughout the body?
In every cell that has a nucleus, yes, such as white blood cells and skin cells.
And is that important in your analysis?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. Foundational. You may answer.
It's not even
Yes,
leading
it is.
though.
Why?
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
Why is not leading?
It's important because we can take samples, evidentiary samples that may be from blood or saliva, and compare them with known standards, which are typically buccal swabs, which are swabs from the inside of the cheek, or dried blood standards in the case.
Does each individual have unique DNA?
Everybody except identical twins is unique.
Okay. Are you familiar with something known as STR analysis?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. Foundational. The witness may answer.
Yes, I am.
What is STR analysis, please?
STR stands for short tandem repeat analysis. Over 99% of DNA is the same from person to person. So we're looking at that 1% that varies from individual to individual. Short tandem repeats are very small sequences of DNA that repeat over and over. So at one location, I may have 12 of these repeats where another individual may have 14.
Is that distinction important?
Yes.
Why?
We can type standards from anybody associated with the case and make comparisons from the evidentiary profile to the standards to either include or exclude individuals.
All right. I'd like to direct your attention to Exhibit 91. Do you have that item in front of you, sir?
Yes, I do.
What is 91, please?
91 is my confidential report of laboratory findings dated April 29th, 2022.
And do you know if it relates to events occurring in the city of Waukesha on November 21 of 21?
Objection leading.
Overruled. Foundational. The witness may answer.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Were you given some items to process for DNA analysis?
I was, yes.
Were you given DNA standards to compare any profiles that you may develop from the evidence to known individuals in the case?
Yes, I was.
Do you remember who you got standards from?
I do.
Are you able to name them? Or if you need to refer to your report, you may, but just let us know.
Okay. Can I read off the report?
You may read off your report. What page are you reading from, sir?
I will be reading page 2.
Okay. Go ahead.
Objection.
Overruled. The witness may do so.
I received buccal swabs, so cheek swabs from Erica Patterson as well as Darrell Brooks. I received dried blood standards from Wilhelm Hospital, Tamara Durand, Jane Kulick, Leanna Owen, Virginia Sorensen, and Jackson Sparks.
Is there a difference between those two, the method in which they were submitted, the buccal swab versus the dried blood standard?
Objection leading.
Overruled. Foundational. The witness may answer.
Yes,
Are you able to do the same thing with them?
I am, yes.
And what is that?
Just extracting the DNA off them to essentially put a profile to the individual.
Okay. And how do you use those profiles that you develop from the known standards?
We compare them to the evidentiary profiles that we develop.
All right. Now, you processed many items related to this case. Is that correct, sir?
Objection leading.
Overruled. Foundational. The witness may answer.
Yes, I did.
I'm going to direct your attention to just a few select items for my purposes, okay? On page 7 of your report, Exhibit 91, you have reported on analysis you were able to perform on some swabs from the steering wheel of the vehicle in question. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
And the swabs were obtained by another member of the crime lab, is that right?
Objection speculative.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
That's correct.
How do they get to you?
They were collected by analyst our chief now, Chris Johnson in Milwaukee, and they were mailed over to the Madison lab.
Okay. Were you able to develop any DNA profiles from the swabs of the steering wheel in this case?
Yes, I was.
What were your findings?
It was a 2-person mixture with at least 1 male.
Can you explain for the jury what that means, please?
We can look at a profile, and based on how many peaks there are at different locations, each person will have a maximum of 2. So if you have 3 peaks at a location, you know that you have more than 1 person there. And so in this case, we were able to say that it was a 2-person mixture.
Were you able to identify who those 2 people would be?
Objection speculative.
Overruled. The witness may
Speculative.
answer based upon training, experience, and investigation and analysis in this case.
Yes.
How did you do that, sir?
I ran it through this program called StarMix.
Is that a computer program?
Yes, it is.
What is that, please?
Objection leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
StarMix is a mixture deconvolution software that we use. Previously, it was pretty difficult to distinguish different contributors in mixtures, and now we have this software that's actually a 2-part program to do that.
How does it work?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
The first part takes inputs by the analyst, such as number of contributors. So we'll look at the profile and determine that. But it also looks at the total amount of DNA amplified and essentially makes its own profile for comparison purposes. It will then compare it to the actual profile and determine if it's a good enough match. It will then generate another completely random profile, and if it's better and a better match, it will accept it. If it's not, it will deny it, and it will keep doing the accept over and over hundreds of thousands of times until it has a profile that is a very, very good match to
So a decoder.
the theoretical profile.
Safe to say a human being will be very challenged to do the same analysis.
It would take a very long time, yes.
Okay. And the software that you use, the STAR Mix or STR Mix, is that used in other labs around the country, sir?
Objection speculative. I don't know it's used around the country.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Yes, it is.
Is it a reliable method of performing DNA analysis, in your opinion, sir?
Yes, it is.
Has it been accepted in courts and other cases?
Objection speculative.
Overruled. The
It's
witness
not
may answer.
speculative.
Yes, it has.
More than once?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
Do you know about how many times STAR Mix has been used in Wisconsin courts?
Objection speculative.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Since we brought it online in January of 2020, it's been accepted over 100 times in the state of Wisconsin.
Did you have to receive some specific training in how to utilize this software?
Yes, I did.
And did you complete the courses?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you use STAR Mix to analyze the DNA profile, this two-person mixture from the steering wheel of the Ford Escape?
Objection leading.
Overruled. Foundational. The witness may answer.
Yes, I did.
What conclusion did you draw?
Based on it being a two-person mixture, Erica Patterson and Darrell Brooks are both very strong support for inclusion. They're both greater, or it's at least 1 quadrillion times more likely to observe the DNA profile if it's a mixture resulting from them plus an unknown over 2 unknowns.
So the odds of it being Mr. Brooks' DNA versus some other random person in the world are very, very rare, correct?
Objection leading.
Impossible.
I don't consent to being called that name.
The objection is noted. I'll sustain the objection as to the form of the question. Just ask that you rephrase.
Can you explain for us what you mean by very strong support for inclusion?
Yeah, we have a verbal qualifier based off of the validation that the company, the StarMix creators, as well as an internal validation have come up with. And the highest number we'll report is greater than 1 quadrillion. So this is higher than the number
Of people on Earth.
We're reporting greater than 1 quadrillion, but the number is actually higher than that.
Okay. I'd like to move on then to the gear shift. Did you receive swabs from the gear shift of the red SUV?
Yes, I did.
Were you able to develop a DNA profile from the swab from the gear shift?
Yes, I was.
What did you find?
That was a 3-person mixture, also with at least 1 male.
I'm sorry, you trailed off at the end. A 3-person mixture, what?
With at least 1 male contributor.
Okay. Were you able to do any further analysis on that DNA profile?
I ran that through StarMix as well.
And what conclusion did you reach?
Objection leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
The same as the steering wheel. So Erica Patterson and Darrell Brooks are both very strong support for inclusion.
Meaning that their DNA is on that gear shift.
Objection leading.
Sustained as to the form of the question. Please rephrase.
Please, again, state in layman's terms for the jury what that means, sir.
Both Erica Patterson and Darrell Brooks, there's at least 1 quadrillion times more likely that it's the mixture of, It's at least 1 quadrillion times more likely to observe the DNA profile if it's a mixture from H1, meaning the person of interest, and 2 unknowns versus 3 unknowns.
The person of interest being Daryl Brooks?
Objection. I don't consent to being called
Oh,
that
their
name.
name. Don't call me their name. They're calling me names.
Noted, but overruled. You may answer.
We run StarMix for the profile itself, and then each individual standard is run. So each person will have its own individual stat. So in this case, both Erica and Darrell are greater than 1 times 10 to the 15th, which is our 1 quadrillion.
All right, thank you. Sir, up on the table to your left, there's an item in a bag that's been marked as exhibit number 87. You see that? Yes, could you pull that down and take a look at that for me, please?
The hat.
Do you recognize exhibit number 87?
I do, yes.
And is that an item that you worked on?
Yes, it is.
Were you able to develop a DNA profile from exhibit 87?
Yes, I was.
What did you find?
That was a 2-person mixture with at least 1 male contributor.
And were you able to analyze that further using StarMix?
I was.
What conclusions did you reach?
Erica Patterson has very strong support for exclusion. Darrell Brooks has strong support for exclusion. Wilhelm Hospital has very strong support for inclusion. He is above that 1 quadrillion threshold that we have.
Okay. And last, I'm not sure, Madam Clerk, if you still have the exhibit handy. If not, we can just talk about it. I'm looking for the sweatshirt that was item number 84. Exhibit 84? It is? Okay. Judge, would you please hand that to the witness?
Yes, the record clerk, I'm handing exhibit number 84 to the witness. Go ahead.
Thank you.
What was the other exhibit number? That?
The hat is 87 and the sweatshirt is 84.
Sir, do you recognize item number 84, or exhibit number 84, I should say?
I do.
Is that an item that you processed?
Yes, it is.
Were you able to develop a DNA profile from exhibit 84?
Yes, I was.
What did you find?
I first looked at this. Typically, we'll swab, if we're trying to find the wearer of an item, areas that skin contacts. So on shirts, a lot of times we'll swab the back of the neck area or the cufflinks. So I swabbed both of those. There was a reddish brown stain on the right sleeve that tested presumptive positive for blood. So I took that, a cutting of that. And then there were 5 hairs. There were more than 5 hairs, but I took 5 hairs that looked like they had roots on them for extraction.
Okay. And were you able to develop any DNA profiles from any of those swabbings or hairs?
Yes, I was.
Which? Let's start with swabs.
Okay. The swabbing of the collar of the sweatshirt was a 3-person mixture with at least 1 male.
How about the cuffs of the sweatshirt?
The cuffs were also a 3-person mixture with 1 male.
And how about the stain on the right cuff?
That was a 2-person mixture with at least 1 male.
Okay. Going back to the collar, the swab of the collar, did you use StarMix software to rule in or out the possibility of Mr. Brooks being included in that profile?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name. He's leading the witness.
Noted, overruled. The witness may answer.
Yes, I did.
What was your finding?
Mr. Brooks has very strong support for inclusion. He's above that 1 quadrillion threshold.
Okay. How about the cuffs on the sweatshirt? What was your finding and ultimate conclusion as to Mr. Brooks' likelihood of DNA in that mix.
Objection, I don't consent to being called
Cool
that
day,
name. Reading the witness.
The witness.
Noted, overruled, the witness may answer.
That 3-person mixture with at least one male, same thing. Ms. Darrell Brooks was very strong support for inclusion, greater than 1 quadrillion times.
And the last item you said was a stain on the right cuff of the sweatshirt?
Correct.
Did you reach any ultimate conclusion as it relates to that item?
That was a 2-person mixture with at least one male contributor.
And what was your conclusion?
Both Erica Patterson and Darrell Brooks are very strong support for inclusion.
You said that substance was a presumptive positive for blood?
Correct.
Objection, leading.
Overruled, the witness may answer.
That's correct.
All right, thank you, sir. I don't have any other questions at this time, but I would move Exhibit 91 into evidence, his report, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'll take Exhibit 91 is received. Any reason to keep the exhibits the witness?
Can I see that last exhibit? I'm thinking
91?
of the 87 with the sweatshirt.
You want me to hold it up? Or
Yeah. Is that 87?
That is 84.
84?
This cat that I'm holding up is 87. And then he has 91, which is his report. I'll keep that in front of him for now, or he can keep that in front of him for now. Go ahead when you're ready.
These
I think I actually might need to take a pit stop. I'm just gonna take a pause. I'm gonna finish this. I swear I am. Thank you for the short break. Let's listen to what
these DNA analysis with star mix. I'm a little curious to get clarification on what does it mean when you say mixture? What exactly does that mean?
A mixture just means that it is more than one person present in the profile.
So by it being more than one person present in the profile, would it be fair to say that that would constitute it being more than one person?
Yes.
That's what he said. He's so stupid. Oh my god.
The gear shift had a 3-person mixture, so would that apply to the gear shift the same, that it would likelihood there's 3 different people's DNA on the gear shift?
That's correct.
The gear shift. The gear shift.
And for the steering wheel, a 2-person mixture, so that would be 2 people for DNA for the steering wheel?
Correct.
Carly. It's thunder and lightning. She gets scared.
Do you recall when you did this DNA analyzation? I'm sorry.
Any
Analyzation
specific
or
item
analysis.
or all of them?
Oh my God.
Do you
Analyzation.
recall when you did all the items, I guess?
Oh, all the items.
So most of the items were collected in November. They were not transferred to the Madison lab until the end of January. So I started, I believe January 31st was the first day that I started analysis. And then my report was written April 29th.
So you started the analysis at the end of January?
Correct.
And you did your report in April. Why so long?
I generated 583 pages and my report's 15 pages long, so that takes a little bit of time.
So you broke down the 583 pages into 15.
Correct.
To the best of your knowledge, do you know why it took from November to January for you to actually get the items that you were going to analyze for DNA?
Other than me picking up the case then, not really, no, I don't know.
Do you know where the items were kept prior to you receiving them?
Yes.
Can you state for the jury and for the record?
For the record.
Our evidence technicians, when they came to the Madison lab, put them into storage where all evidence is stored.
Were the items sealed like they are now?
Yes.
And so I'm assuming you had to unseal them, get them out of the sealing packages to do the analyzation. Would that be fair to say?
Analyzation.
Yes.
Or the analysis. Stupid.
And did you yourself alone do the analyzation, or did you have other
Is that even a word?
people that you worked with?
I did all of the DNA myself.
Did you repackage the items after you were done yourself?
Yes, I did.
And did you return them back to where you had received them from, or did you keep them at your, I think you said the Madison lab?
I'm based out of the Madison lab, yes. Typically, when we're done with evidence, we will return them to our evidence technicians, who will then put them back into storage. When the case is done, the evidence is then returned to the submitting agency.
So the items are still at your lab, is from your knowledge?
Now?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I asked that, let me give you some clarity. I asked that because you said at the
Analyzations, it's a word.
completion of the case, they would be returned to the agency that you received them from. So I was kind of trying to get clarity.
Are you
on
testifying or no?
that. So do you know if they were returned to the agency you received them from already?
I believe they were.
So it'd be fair to say in this situation, the items weren't continued to be stored at the Madison lab.
That's correct.
How does this help you, Daryl? Are you going to suggest that they tampered with it? Because you're not... He never actually puts anything and completes the thought.
A lot of these DNA analysis, I noticed that specifically DNA was analyzed for 8 people. Would that be fair to say?
Sounds right, yes.
And specifically referring to the analysis that had 3-person mixtures and things of that nature, what happens to the 3rd-person mixture that is excluded? Is it any way?
The question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Well, I guess I'm referring to when someone is excluded, which I interpret as ruled out, there's still that mystery third mixture, can that third mixture be identified in some way, or how does that work?
Sorry. Yes, we would need a standard submitted from another person who they believe could possibly be the source of that DNA.
So would it be fair to say for the analysis that you did that had 3-person mixtures, there's still a DNA that you found that's unknown?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, Daryl. Wish I didn't have a hole in my roof. Hold on a second. Get really up here. She just wanted to be up on the couch. So I just vacuumed the couch. Now I know why that one cushion is all nasty. It's okay. Good girl.
And can you explain what is CODIS? Is that pronounced right? CODIS or Kodak?
Yes, it is.
Kodak. Moron.
Can you explain what CODIS
Sure.
is?
CODIS stands for the Combined DNA Index System, and it is a database of known individuals.
And when you find that a DNA, I'm guessing, I don't know if the right word to use would be sample, or I don't know if that's correct. When you come to the conclusion that a DNA sample is not eligible for entry into CODIS, what exactly does that mean?
There are certain rules that we must abide by for putting profiles into CODIS. Depending on where it's collected from, pretty much determines the eligibility on whether or not we can put it in.
This is kind of sad. He just doesn't get enough of this to make to
One of your
pull the thread through.
analysis had a 4-person mixture. Were you able to determine out of the 8 DNAs that you ran if any of those DNAs were found on that specific item?
Your Honor, I object that it's vague. I'm not sure which item he's referring to.
I'm referring to, it says brim of maroon winter style hat.
What page are you on, please, sir?
6.
All right, so you want directing the witness to page 6?
Yes.
That particular
Yes,
item?
that's where I'm reading from, yes.
Okay, thank you. Did you ask the question?
Yeah, I said this one in particular, the one I'm referring to, has a 4-person mixture. Did your analysis identify any one of those 4 people out of the 8 DNA samples that you were analyzing?
No, it did not.
I'm guessing the thread he's trying to pull through here, which is very technical stuff, unless you've got a big background of biology. But they're trying to make it as plain as they can for everyone. But I'm thinking the thread he's trying to pull through is there's samples of a few things where there was a 4-person mixture or a 3-person mixture, and those other people were not identified. Other people who had been in the car, maybe not those particular victims, maybe they were other victims, who knows? Who knows? But he's not pulling that thread all the way through the situation where he's saying, here's a thing where they found more things, but it wasn't identified in the 8 samples that they used. Okay, what does that mean, Daryl? That has no meaning. It certainly isn't casting any doubt. He's trying, though. Are you a victim? What's an entity? Who is you? So we're not getting that.
Would it be fair to say for pretty much all the items that you did analysis on, there were at minimum 2 or 3 person mixtures?
No.
And why would you say that?
Typically in our reports, we lump the star mix samples together. If you look before that, it will have items that were single source profiles.
That's why I said the majority, or if not all. I didn't say every single one.
I wouldn't say the majority, no.
Certainly looks that way.
Okay, that's testimony. Daryl.
Is it autosomal? How do you say that word?
Autosomal.
Autosomal STRDNA results and conclusions. That starts on page 5. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct, yes.
And ends on page 13. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct, yes.
Would it be fair to say that page 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, and 6, out of all those pages, only 3 have single source, and all the rest of them have at least 2 or 3 mixtures. Would that be fair to say?
No.
And can you point out where the inaccuracy may be?
Sure.
In case I'm not being accurate.
Yeah,
Accurate.
on page 6, the first profile that you're looking at, cuttings of the apparent hair from the gas tank strap. That's a single source profile.
That's 1.
The next line, the cutting of the unlit end of the blunt is 1.
2.
Cuttings of the apparent roots from the hairs, which is CC4, CC5, and CC8. So that's 3 items right there.
So you're looking at the actual heading.
That's correct.
And is that it? from?
On that page, yes.
Any other pages?
Which direction is the books, forward or backwards?
I don't consent to being called that name. We're going from page 6.
Are you asking single source profiles?
To page 7. From page 7, do you see any single source? Or yes, I guess it would be called single source.
No. From page 6 to 13, as you previously stated, those are my star mix ones. So each one of those is going to be a mixture profile.
So the majority of them have a mixture of persons.
From those pages, yes, but there are many single source profiles before the star mix conclusions.
Okay, so he proved something, but he doesn't bring it to a conclusion, right? So there's other DNA in the car, or from what they tested, bring it to a conclusion. Does it belong to the victims? He can't say the word victim, can he? Or are these unknowns? Like, he doesn't make it so that we're doubting that he's the person in the car at all. He's not even in that universe. He's just tromping around in the mud as usual.
Do you recall who you turned your report over to once you finished your report?
What you
For technical review?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
For technical review?
I'm referring to once you had finished your written report. Do you recall who you turned that over to?
Yes.
You stated for the jury and for the record?
For the record.
Kelly Gajewski was my tech reviewer.
Could you spell that last name for the record?
It's Gajewski, Gajewski.
Thank you.
And do you know what happened to the written report from that point?
After she reviews it, sent it back for edits, and then I fixed those. It was approved by her. Then it goes to a supervisor for an administrative review.
Fix the edits? What do you mean by fix the edits?
If there's any typos or anything like that, it'll come back. Or if I forgot to initial a page or something like that, I'll fix those and then send it back to her for approval.
Working with law enforcement, which you've stated you've done numerous times. And in regards to written reports, to your knowledge, are you aware of officers taking a creative writing course?
Objection,
What?
relevance.
Oh, sustained. That's the
Look at her, she's laughing. Once upon a time, it'd be technical writing, you moron. She was laughing so hard.
Have you yourself ever taken a creative writing course?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
How about
Not
English?
relevant. Next question.
Mm.
Have you or anyone you know filed a complaint in this matter?
No.
Would you consider yourself an injured party in this matter?
Not till today. Not till today. Mm.
Ever directly talk to the plaintiff in this matter?
I don't know how I would talk to the state of Wisconsin.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
I do not know how I would talk to the state of Wisconsin. It's an entity, not a person.
Not a person, right? No further questions?
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yes. Sir, on page 6 of your report, you were identifying for the defendant the some of the single source profiles that you developed. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And one of the items you described as items CC4A, CC5A, and CC8A. Do you see that?
Objection leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer. Go ahead.
Yes, I do.
What do those items represent?
Objection leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Those are cuttings of the apparent root ends of the hairs that I took off the sweatshirt.
Forgot to ask you about the hairs.
Objection leading.
Did you? I'm sorry, that was a statement. I'll move on, Your Honor.
Thank you.
You told Mr. Brooks on cross that you developed a single source profile for those hairs. Is that right?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name, and it's leading the witness.
The objections are noted. Overruled. The witness may answer.
That's correct.
Who was the source of those hairs on that sweatshirt? States exhibit number 84.
Objection, speculative.
It's
Go
not
ahead,
speculative.
Darrell Brooks is the source.
Okay, so
Thank
the
you.
hairs on
Nothing
the
else.
sweatshirt. The hairs on the sweatshirt was one and one person only, Daryl. You wore the sweatshirt that they have in evidence. Moron. And you served it. She actually forgot to ask. Oh my God. Not that it would have been hard for her to plug that in from the video, the photographs, and the actual shirt itself. Goblin Brooks, Goblin at law, working for the prosecution in his own case.
Thank you, sir. You may sit down.
Moron! Moron! God, you're so dumb. Thinks he's smart. Look how smart he thinks he is. Look at that. He thinks he's smart. Daryl, you're not smart.
As much as I would love to have another witness, we're going to break for the night because it is 5:49.
Thank
So,
you.
with that, I will give the instruction
You
that I've been
go.
giving tonight to
This
these
just a
jurors.
game to me.
So please listen. Do not begin your deliberations
All
or
right.
discussion of the case until
And that's all of her. I don't think she does anything else. I don't think we do anything. Oh, wait. There might be something after. We can't miss one. No, maybe I don't know if it'll scroll over for me. My computer's not that nifty.
electronically or by any other means. If anyone does so despite your telling them not to, you should report that to me.
What are you
I
looking at,
appreciate
Daryl?
that it is
Oh,
tempting
look
when you
at
go
his
home
hairline.
this evening
He's
to
looking at
discuss
his
this case
hairline.
with another member of your household, but you may not do so. This case must be decided by you, the jurors, based on the evidence presented in the
Look at his
courtroom.
face.
People not serving on this jury have not heard the evidence, and it is improper for them to influence your deliberations and decision in this case. After the trial is completed, you are free to discuss this case and communicate with anyone in any manner. These rules are intended to assure that jurors remain impartial throughout the trial. If any juror has reason to believe that another juror has violated these rules, you should report that to me. If jurors do not comply with these rules, it could result in a new trial involving additional time and significant expense to the parties and the taxpayers. You are to decide the case solely on the evidence offered and received at trial. With that, you are excused for the evening. I'll briefly discuss scheduling with the parties and then let Michael and Jen know when to report tomorrow. Thank you. All rise for the jurors, please.
Look how smart he thinks he is. Look at him. Short man. He's laughing in the back. Oh my goodness.
Yes, we good? Oh, there's the door. Thank you, be seated. Just briefly as to scheduling tomorrow, since we had a late evening, how about we start at 9 a.m. tomorrow? Any objection from the state?
No.
From Mr. Brooks?
No.
All right, 9 a.m. tomorrow. For scheduling purposes, I'll take up, obviously, tomorrow morning, whether the state can recall Detective Casey. That would be your last witness.
Yes.
All right, then, sir, you have the option, should you choose, of an opening statement. So you should be prepared for that. And then to call witnesses, I believe you've worked with Attorney Opper, or do you need to provide her with anything regarding that tomorrow? All right, anything else from the state?
No.
Any?
I don't have anything at this time, Your Honor. If you excuse us, then I'll make sure I get that paperwork from Mr. Brooks or the defendant, and we'll be ready to go.
All right, anything else from you, sir?
Oh, yeah, we're starting at 8:30, right? Or are we starting at 9 as well?
We're starting at 9.
Okay. Then Ms. Basie corrected me because we have to discuss Attorney Casey's testimony, but we also anticipate we'll have a motion in the morning, or I can tell you what it is right now, but I know the hour's getting late.
I mean, if you think it's going to take some time, then I'll have the jurors come at 9, but I want to be mindful. I know, Mr. Brooks, we all had a long day. I'll do 8:45, but I'm not going to do any earlier than that.
I think that's fair, Your Honor. It's a motion to conform the information to fit the evidence.
Oh, all right. I'll take that up.
We'll have it in writing for Mr. Brooks in the morning, Your Honor.
Okay, that'll be great. All right. Anything else from you, sir?
No, I redid the. It's not the exact order that I'm gonna call the witnesses, but it's pretty much
Who you want, like each time block, morning or afternoon?
exactly.
You'll be ready to
It's
go
just
tomorrow?
not an exact order. Like I'm gonna call this person.
I'm
this
not going to hold you
person.
to that, as long
Yeah.
as it's by time blocks, if you want to call it that, but be ready to
Well,
call
I did
witnesses.
it just so I can state for the record, so it'll be easy to follow. I did the names by threes. I'm guessing the first 3 would be the morning, the next 3 would be the evening, and then Friday 3 morning, and then 3 evening. Is that fair?
I think so.
Yes, we may be able to move faster, but we will attempt to stay in contact with the witnesses if we can, bring somebody here sooner. If the court's got time, we'll do that, but that's very reasonable.
And then do you have any idea how long you anticipate your opening will be?
Opening statement?
Yes.
I don't think it's any way to gauge how long it will be.
Just be mindful, sir, it's not the time to make argument. Opening statements, as I like to call them, and what the jury instruction references, it's the roadmap. So I will expect to hear a lot of the evidence will show, the testimony, things of that nature. If it turns into argument, that's what happens at the close of the case.
What do you mean by argument?
If you're trying to argue the evidence and what it means.
No, I'm not trying to argue.
But this will be what, basically to lay out what the defense, what I would expect is for you to lay out what the defense or defenses that you believe you'll be presenting evidence about will be. To kind of, again, give the jury a roadmap, an idea of what to expect as your witnesses come forward. And then at some point, I don't know whether you will make a decision to testify or not, but we do have to have a conversation on the record about that. So if you could just give me an idea, if you are going to testify yourself, if you think that would be at the beginning or at the end, so I can gauge when to have that conversation with you.
I don't know for sure yet at this point.
Fair enough. So at some point I'll have that conversation with you though. All right, we'll see everyone at 8:45 tomorrow. Thank you everyone. They're in recess.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Does have any questions? Can you?
Okay, that's day 10. We made it. I kind of felt bad for Daryl because this guy was very technical and science-based, and he started to brew up some doubt and then never pulled like a detail out of it that could be used practically to throw any kind of shadow of doubt on this. Like, it could be another person, here's the person, or any of that. He didn't ask about time that these things could have been left in the car, the DNA. I mean, and I'm rudimentary understanding. I'm just collecting what I heard the guy say. You know, I don't know. I almost felt bad for him because, you know, he's dumb and he thought he was so smart. And now it's funny again. Stupid troll. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. I really, really like that you're joining me. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're over 500 subscribers. I could not believe that many people want to hear anything. A lot of people don't. They move on, I hope. But let's keep moving on. Tomorrow we'll start day 11. Thanks for joining. Like, comment, subscribe, and share.